Good morning, V'ezrat Hashem. We're gonna try to speak a little bit Musar today. We're gonna read a little bit of the Igerat Ramban. The Ramban writes, Shema b'ni Musar avicha, ve'al titosh Torah emecha. You have to listen to the discipline of your father, and do not forsake the guidance of your mother. So over here, the Ramban is teaching us, this is a letter that the Ramban wrote to his son when the Ramban went to Eretz Yisrael. He was about 72 years old, and he sent a letter to his son, which was in Spain. And this is what he wrote to him. So here, the Ramban in this letter in this statement was trying to tell him that he has to listen to the words of his father and to the guidance of his mother. So every parent has a responsibility to give his child proper character traits. Even if you're not able to teach your children Torah, whether it's Chumash, Mishnah, Gemara, you don't have that ability to be able to teach them those areas of Torah, you're still obligated to teach your son or your daughter Torah values and morals. And also you have to know, parents have to be very aware that midot are also in a way hereditary. Right? We need to say that they can transfer genes, midot, attributes are also genetic. Just as parents transfer their genes to their offspring, right, which also will determine their physical characteristics, so also they can transmit their attitudes, values, and character traits to the children as well. Parents, for example, who don't control their anger are going to raise hot-tempered children. Their children are also going to have anger issues. Rav Nosson Tzvi Finkel one time wrote that there was a son of a good family who used to steal apples, but didn't become a thief overnight. It says really that Midah, that attribute of his, has its roots in previous generations. It could be that his grandfather was a righteous person and he used to sit in shul and he used to daven and he used to learn, but he behaved more righteously than who he really was. He was deceiving people into believing that he was more than what he really was. And then his son was a Talmid Chacham, right? But his son used to maybe take Divrei Torah from here or there and say it as if it was his own Divrei Torah, and write it in his books as if it's his own chidush. It's his own way of understanding and putting together Torah, right? But his son, that was also considered stealing. Generally, when you take something from a different sefer or a different rabbi and you want to write it, you have to quote the source where you write it from. Some people, they'll just write it as if it's their own thing, right? They says that's also a form of stealing. That's Gnevat Dat. It says the child also has that within him. It's just by him it comes out differently. He'll steal apples instead. But really the source of it comes from the generations before, even though they might look like big rabbis, right, in the generation before, right? But they also could be a little bit of something there, right, that's also genetic in the children, right? They're just trying to bring it to such an example that even when you see somebody righteous and they might have a kid with certain attributes, deep down inside there's something there. It's genetic. It's not everything is that, but it's genetics also. We know that there is the Masechet called Avot, and all about Masechet Avot is all about teaching us midot and morals and Jewish hashkafa, right? The Orach Chaim writes that one of the main things that parents have to teach their children is Yirat Shamayim, to fear Hashem. If a child is taught to fear Hashem at a young age, so to appreciate Hashem at a young age, that Yirat Shamayim stays with him even when he gets older. To teach a child to fear God, to teach a child, to ask a child, walk around with a child, ask him who created the sun, who created the moon, who created the earth, to tell him to say Shema every single day, to teach him how to thank Hashem for everything, to teach him to acknowledge that Hashem created the world. When you teach your children to acknowledge and to realize and to fear Hashem, right, and they build that conscience within them, it stays with them forever, that they realize that they're standing in the presence of Hashem all the time. The Orach Chaim also writes that sometimes the person has a Yetzer Hara to do an Avirah. How does he work out of the Yetzer Hara? He should make an image, a mental image of his parents, like we found by Yosef HaTzadik, which is a very righteous person who almost fell into a very big Avirah. What happens? He thought about his father and he thought, how can I do such a thing? His father's image in his mind gave him that strength to be able to refrain from doing the Avirah. And also, the Ramban also wrote to his other son another letter, and he told him that any time that you want to do something, you should always remember me in front of you. It'll help you in situations to be able to do the right thing. The Shloah Kadosh writes that if parents want to teach their kid one very important midah, to be able to leave a certain imprint on a child that will stay with him forever, one of the main things that you have to teach your children is the importance of being honest. Right? To be honest, to speak the truth in all circumstances. And when you teach your children to be honest, it stays with them. You know, the importance of being honest, of saying the truth. Right? The Shlach Kadosh writes that when he lived in Yerushalayim, he knew a very righteous Sephardic person, that he never deviated from anything, but he never deviated from the truth whatsoever. He said this Sephardic Chassid, right, explained to the Shlach that the reason why he was so honest and so truthful is because when he was a child, his father always used to tell him to speak the truth, and whenever he would speak the truth, the father would give him gifts. Whenever he would lie, he tried to get away with it without admitting to the truth, the father would punish him severely. And the child developed this appreciation and this fear and this importance of being honest and saying the truth. The Ramban goes on to teach his children, also the Ramban's statement here, by listen to your father and don't forsake the words of the guidance of your mother. The Rashi here explains, listen to the discipline of your father refers to the Torah Shebichtav, the Chumash, the Torah that we see from Moshe Rabbeinu and Hashem and Mount Sinai. Right? And then it says the guidance of your mother refers to the Chachamim that came afterwards in every generation, that they make different rules and laws in order to be able to keep us away from sin. That the Ramban is telling him, be very careful to keep everything. Rav Mordechai Gifter writes, right? He says that the Karaites and the Reform people, they came along, and the secularists, they came along, and they say, these rabbis, they're so heartless, they're insensitive, they come up with so many new rules, so many new laws, they don't have any true need, they don't have any concern of the needs and the feelings of people, right? But the truth is the other way around. He says, these people want to come and say that the Torah we got from Moshe Rabbeinu was flexible and had compassion. And suddenly the rabbis came later on, they made all these new rules and all these new laws, right? But really Shlomo Melech comes along and he says, no. Shlomo Melech comes and says that what? When you have to listen to the words of the Chachamim. Why? The Rav Gifter says, imagine there was one time a boy who had a weakness for good food. He loved food. And right next to his house opened up a 5-star non-kosher restaurant. Treif. And the father knew that his son would be very tempted, it would be very hard for him. So the father warned his son, he told him, listen, if I ever catch you that you're going into this restaurant, you're going to be punished for a very long time. He said, I better not see you go into this restaurant. The mother knew that the son is not going to be able to withstand it. That if he's going to walk by, he's going to smell the food, he's going to see the food inside, he's going to be very tempted to eat, he's going to want to go eat inside. So what did the mother tell him? The mother told him, listen, if you even go 1 block near to that restaurant, I'm going to give you the beating of your lifetime. 1 block near the restaurant if you invest you. Don't even go a block near the restaurant. If you're going to go there, you're going to get the beating of your lifetime. Now you can ask yourself, is the mother cruel? Is she heartless? The other way around. She's more sensitive to her son's weaknesses. She is more pained by his potential suffering. She realizes that this could be a very big downfall for her son. It is her love and concern that caused her to be more strict. The same applies to the Torah. The oral and written law given at Sinai are absolute. Right? The firm basis of Jewish law stays forever. The Torah resembles the discipline of the father. However, the Chachamim, everything that they teach us, is like the discipline of the mother that guides the Jewish people in every generation. The Torah gives us responsibilities that we have to do. But the Chachamim come along and realize, alright, our shortcomings and weaknesses of their generation and every other generation, in order to protect us not to come to sin and not to come to punishment and not to come to destroy our own neshama because of our weaknesses. The Chachamim come along and they custom tailor every single thing that we need to every single generation that they live in order to be able to save us, resembling that mother that loves her children, in order to be able to keep us away from those avirot. So those two different interpretations of what this beginning statement means. Of Shema b'ni musar avicha, listen to the discipline of your father, v'al titosh, and do not forsake the guidance of your mother. We're using the Igeret Ramban, the Art Scroll series. It takes a paragraph of what the Ramban says every day, and it elaborates on it, and it makes it more clear to us, right, with different things that we mentioned today, and so on. B'ezrat Hashem. B'atznacha.